An iPhone 10. What? How can that be? When I first saw what I'm about to show you, I was a little taken back. It's something that I'm like, wow, why? But it looks kind of cool, so I'm going to show it to you guys in this video. So how can you turn your old iPhone 6s or iPhone 6 into the latest iPhone 10 before Apple even releases it? In this video, I'm going to show you just that. So take your old beaten and battered 6s or 6 model and convert it to the iPhone 10 using two things, software and hardware. I'm going to show you that in just a second here. The Chinese really never cease to amaze me. So they've released a new product that has really stunned me, and I'm going to show it to you guys right now. Go ahead and get this unboxed real quick. So what could this be? Well, just like the conversion from an iPhone 6 or 6s into an iPhone 7, this is the very same thing just for the iPhone 10. Let's go ahead and see how this looks, if it's worth doing this, if it's even convincible. So here is the inside and the outside. There it is, guys, the iPhone 10 shell for the iPhone 6s. Let me get this plastic off here. And wow, it actually looks pretty dang good. The color looks fantastic, that white on silver blend. This is actually just a little bit more white than Apple's official white color. As you can see, it doesn't have that off-white look to it, not so much gray. There's the color in comparison to the 8 Plus. Let's see how the actual size looks. All right, so here is the real deal, the iPhone 10. So in comparison, it is a little bit bigger, of course, than your standard 6S size, but this actually looks pretty dang good. It gives you those chrome bezels, the same as the iPhone 10. And it'll look all around pretty dang good. The bottom, very similar here. Of course, you don't get the display, but you get the overall look of the actual phone. And the lens, it is a bit smaller, but for someone that hasn't really seen this thing before, and of course no one really has before the release, they won't know the difference, right? Until they turn it on. But that's where software comes in. I'm going to show you guys how to iPhone 10ify your device, make it look just like the real deal, as close as you can, that is, and get some custom controls here just like the real deal. Even emulates the bar up top if you want to go all out and really get that iPhone 10 experience on your current device. So I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick how to strip your device down, your old iPhone 6 or 6s, and put it into the body of an iPhone 10. The spirit is willing here, so let's see what we can get. I also have an iPhone 6 version in here, which I just wanted to real quick show you guys, see if there's anything different on that one. And here is the iPhone 6 version in the same color. So I believe the internals are going to look just a little bit different. Make sure you get the correct version for your device, as the mounting points do change between the models, and you guys will need some battery stickers as well. So if you don't have any of these are a must for these housing swaps. I've done several on this channel already. They're not difficult to do, just a little time consuming. When this is actually real glass on the back, so you'll want to take care of it once we get it installed. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and take up my more beat up iPhone 6s version. I'm going to start by powering it off. The number one thing that I always forget to do in my videos, but power it off, and I'll start by removing the display. Now I will be doing a time lapse here, and I'll be giving you tips in between, but most of you will probably be using an iFixit guide, so I'll just give you some pointers in between in case you want to ever attempt to do this. But of course, step one is just to remove the bolts here on the bottom. Next up, use a pry tool and pry that display off. Now the iPhone 6s does have a little seal, so if you want to buy that to replace it, I usually save my existing one. Just work with that screen on the bottom. Try not to crack it like I just did. And it was already chipped on the bottom, so it's not entirely my fault there. All right, so you want to be very gentle with the top, so that way it doesn't snag and then you cut all the cords off. I've done that, believe it or not. Like, I'm a barbarian sometimes. I just lose my patience, start using strength where you shouldn't. So be very, very gentle here, wiggle it around a little bit, and go ahead and use a Phillips and screw the plates holding the display in. And of course, do note the position of all of these screws, as they are all different lengths. You don't want to put one where it doesn't belong. Peel the plate off and then go ahead and undo all of these connectors for freeing the display from the housing, just like that. And go ahead and set that aside. All right, so now you just want to go ahead and start stripping this down slowly. I'm going to start with the Taptic engine. After that, we're gonna go to the battery there in just a second. This is where it would come in handy to actually watch an iFixit guide. As you begin to strip it down, it'll give you more concise instructions. But I'm gonna start by removing the battery here. This one is tricky, so you wanna be very careful with removing it. And I'll show you some pointers here in just a second. Unplug this battery connector. Just take that little adhesive and just go over it with some blunt nose pliers. You wanna peel it back. Be very careful with this not to trim it, as this is your lifeline. You don't wanna use a credit card method. Could damage your battery and puncture it. Once you've got one of them, go ahead and peel back and away from the battery at a slight angle. Try to wiggle it back and forth. And sometimes once in a blue moon, you'll get lucky and pull it out whole as it was intended. Can't believe both of these came out. That's ridiculous. That should be a crime. I mean, every single one I work on is a pain and rips. There we go. Got the battery out. So what's left? So not too much. Go ahead and continue by removing the logic board. All right, so next up, go ahead and remove the camera and do eject the SIM card from the side so it doesn't interfere with removing the logic board. And for this one right here in the middle, you have to use a 2.5 hex nut tool to get that out. So make sure you come prepared with the correct tools for this job, as this seems to be one of the harder ones to find. And out comes the logic board. So do unclip this one up here. And on the back, there will be an antenna connector. So now just the remainder of this stuff, immediately transfer it to the other iPhone. And the volume buttons are a bit tricky, so I'll get to that one in just a second. All right, so I got the top ribbon cable replaced. I actually didn't change out the buttons because the space gray is so similar to this. It's really hard to tell that they're not even that matching. But if you will be changing the buttons, you wanna make sure to replace the little silicone gasket around the button. So before you put them in, otherwise make sure they're all clicky and they work before you seal the deal here. Anyways, I'm gonna start working on the bottom speaker here, place that and the charging ports, immediately just transfer everything over to this guy. Oh, and something I forgot to mention, you will lose your headphone jack. They wanted to make this hyper realistic, so you will not even get a headphone jack on the bottom here with your 6 or 6S anymore. Honestly, if you really want to, you could just drill straight through here and get that hole there because all the mounting points are there. On the bottom here, when replacing the speaker, make sure to take out the existing speaker grills and replace them into the new iPhone 10. And also don't forget to take out this bottom trim for the lightning port down here. It's a little pry, but you can get it out. And this is where I'm a little puzzled. Why would they remove this headphone jack? I mean, just create a little hole down there. This type of realism isn't completely necessary. There's literally no way to even mount this flex cable down here with the lightning cable with this in here. So goodbye, I'm gonna have to do this, but ripping off the headphone jack. See ya later. All right, so this will fit now. All right, so I've migrated all of the hard stuff, all the buttons, the ribbon cables. Now reassembly, basically take everything from that pile over there and put it back in. Shouldn't be too difficult, just reverse everything that you did. I'm still a little bit bummed and mystified about the headphone jack, why they couldn't just create an opening there. They really want you to commit to this conversion. All right, so now on the battery, just go ahead and reapply these stickers here. All right, nearly there. All the internals are inside. Now just pop the screen back in and we are ready to go. I'll show you guys the completed 10. And of course, before closing everything up, you want to power on your new iPhone 10 to ensure everything is working. The touch screen is all working and everything. But what a procedure, and we are here. So in a moment here, I'm gonna close this up, but I gotta tell you, even right now, it feels pretty solid. Like it's got this heft to it, this nice premium feeling. It's no longer kind of rough and matte. So yeah, everything good. All good to close it up, and I'll be right back. All right, and here's the finished product. So the iPhone 10 in the silver white combo. I gotta tell you, it looks a lot better than I thought it would. Actually has a very premium feeling to it. This is real glass. The chrome borders really adds to that realism. So here it is next to the real deal. Obviously the proportions are just a little bit off. Camera lens is a little bit smaller, but that's of course in order to accommodate the iPhone 6S design there. Silver border is pretty spot on. Of course, the display, you don't get that. Otherwise, pretty cool, looks really clean. I would actually almost recommend it at this point if you have an old 6 or 6S that you don't really care much about and do something new with it. So pretty cool. Aside from the fact that you do lose your headphone jack, that ultra realism is there. So versus an old iPhone 6s, definitely looks a little bit newer, a little bit cleaner. Nice little updates there. All right, so that's the hardware side of things, but the software is just as important. I compiled a list of tweaks to get that authentic iPhone 10 experience. A double tap to wake the screen just like that, double tap to kill it, kind of cool. Also the iPhone 10 wallpaper. So with Swiper also you get the iPhone 10 lock screen experience. You can swipe up from the bottom here and actually get that little slider. You get the quick shortcut to the flashlight right there. You get the camera button as well, kind of cool. So you get that ultra realism. Now notice up top you have that lock icon as well, and you also have the status cutout. So that guy up there will actually adapt and change depending on the applications. If you really want that in your way, you can definitely get it for the ultra iPhone 10 notch experience. Kind of funny that someone went through the process just to create that. The dock down here is awesome dock in order to get the look of the iPhone 10, and no dock icon labels as well. We've got some iPhone 10 gestures. So from the top right, using activator, we can access the control center just like on the real deal. On the left is the notification center. Also within an app, you can do the same thing and slide up to leave the app. Really cool. Take that a step further and actually lock the device with the swipe as well. So kind of neat there. You can also use switcher radii to actually get the cool rounded app switcher